Given that the new Garmin Approach S70 golf watch has been one of the most talked about new pieces of golf tech in the last few years, everyone has been asking a lot of really good questions on my social media, as well as in the comments on my full review on this video. So I wanted to answer some of those in this video today to hopefully help you decide whether this watch is the one for you. So let's just jump straight in with these questions. The first one is there a possibility to change the strap should it fail? In short, yes, you can, although there's no quick release kind of system on the strap that you get with the S70 out of the box. Now, looking at the Garmin website, you can replace the strap with their quick release straps, but for these ones, you will need a little tool like you would with any kind of conventional watch strap really to get into those spring release bars on the edge, push them in, and then that will allow you to slide the watch straps out. The replacement watch straps from Garmin start from around £45. Those are the silicone versions, similar to what you get on the watch, and they are a 20mm width watch strap. Garmin also offer nylon, leather, and metal replacement straps as well, but they do creep up in price. Well, I say creep, it's a pretty significant jump. Up to £130 on the website for their nylon and their leather straps. So I assume that if you wanted to, because it's just a pretty standard looking watch strap design there, you could just replace them with any 20mm watch strap. Next question from Danny Keller is, I'd like to hear your thoughts on the S70 compared to something like the ShotScope X5. Well, handily enough, I've got the brand new ShotScope X5 right here. And in terms of actually how they compare, it's not really much of a comparison, to be honest. The X5 is just a much more dedicated, solely focused on golf watch. The X5 looks a lot better compared to its predecessor, the V3. So I believe they both actually come with a ceramic bezel. But if I turn on the screen of the X5, in terms of the clarity and the brightness of the screen, well, you can see there's no real comparison. Of course, with the X5, you are getting the unique benefit which comes with the ShotScope in that you get the 16 club tags in the box, and there's no annual subscription to use any of ShotScope's services. So you are getting a lot more specific data-led tracking information from the ShotScope straight out of the box. Now, of course, you can track data with the S70 as well, either using the internal sensor on the watch or actually pairing it with Garmin's additional CT10 tags, which cost another £200. But even then, the Garmin doesn't necessarily provide the same level of data in terms of your driving, your chipping, your putting stats, and most importantly, the fact that the ShotScope is using strokes gained in all of that data, whereas the Garmin doesn't go into that level of detailed information. Now, while ShotScope have drastically improved the looks of the X5, to be honest, the S70 is still a much better looking watch in my opinion. That screen on the S70 means that you can use this on and off the course without any problems whatsoever. Whereas on the X5, the screen, well, I wouldn't really be that comfortable wearing this too much off of the course. And the battery life, well, there's just no comparison between these watches. The battery life is significantly better on the Garmin S70. On the X5, I'm getting around 2 days battery life out of it, even when I'm not using it on the golf course. With the X5, you're looking more to 7 to 8 days battery life, and that's with it tracking all my fitness, as well as all my sleep patterns, as well as a full 18 holes of golf. So if money is a significant sticking point when it comes to the Garmin, then the X5 is definitely one that's worth considering, given that it's about half the price, but it's not without its drawbacks. You just have to be aware that with the X5, you are only getting a golf watch. And while it gives you fantastic data, it can be a little bit tricky to use as well. You don't get a heart rate sensor or a blood O2 level sensor. You can't track any of your runs or your activities on this watch. And as I mentioned, it's not necessarily as good to wear off the course with the quality and brightness of the screen compared to the F70. So that's why it costs half the price. If you don't care about all those additional features that the Garmin provides, then why bother spending the extra money and paying for all those features that you're simply not going to use? And in which case, the X5 is suddenly something you might want to consider. Next question, does the S70 allow you to enter your daily handicap and calculate Stableford points throughout the round? Short answer, yes, you can. It's pretty simple to enter your current handicap in the watch, and then there's an option in your score tracking menu to select whether you're playing stroke play or whether you're playing Stableford. Now, of course, the Stableford setting depends upon Garmin having the most up-to-date and correct scorecard information for your course, because Stableford requires the information on the whole SI for each of the holes, and if that's wrong, then your Stableford's likely to be wrong. But so long as that's all up to date and correct, then yes, you can absolutely enter your handicap and track Stableford points on this watch. Next question is, you'd like to hear my thoughts on how good a golfer you need to be to make best use of this watch. The person asking the question says their guess would be a mid-handicapper. I think that's a really, really good question to consider, especially given that this watch is expensive. There's no getting around that fact. In my opinion, I think that actually the higher to mid handicappers would benefit the most from this watch, not necessarily the lower handicap golfers who are playing a better quality and standard of golf. The reason why I say I think higher handicap golfers will benefit more is because, in my opinion, and I'm speaking from personal experience here as well as a high to mid handicapper, see? Higher handicap golfers will tend to just walk up to the ball, know the yardage, and then just try to hit that yardage. Whereas there's a lot of features on this watch which will bring other factors into consideration that perhaps a higher to mid handicap golfer wouldn't necessarily take the time to just quickly stop, evaluate the surroundings, evaluate the lie, evaluate what dangers are lying ahead on the hole, and then take the appropriate course of action. Whether that means taking more club, less club, aiming to the left or to the right. The information that this watch provides at literally a glance or at most one or two swipes is priceless in terms of factoring in that kind of information. Now, I appreciate that a lot of golf watches will offer the ability to show slope, which is a great feature, giving you an idea of whether you should actually club up or club down. But there's some additional features unique to this watch, which really kind of brings it into its own, and I think would massively benefit the higher handicappers. So for example, on the hole layout, it gives you the little dispersion square on the map, which gives you an idea of where your shot could land depending upon the club you're hit and where you're aiming. So it gives you an idea of the hazards that you might be bringing into play, and therefore actually you might want to aim a little bit more left perhaps, or take a little bit less club to stop you reaching a bunker or a water hazard. The virtual caddy feature on this watch is just going to give you that quick automatic prompt to kind of start coaching you and guiding you as to potentially which clubs you should or shouldn't be hitting out on the course in any given scenario. Now, I appreciate that a lot of golfers don't necessarily want to rely on that feature, but it will give you an idea and an indication to help you improve as a golfer over time, to the point where actually you probably will no longer need that auto caddy feature once you have a better understanding of your game and the shots that you hit and the way that you execute them. The watch also factors in things like wind direction and strength. Again, that's just another thing that perhaps your average higher handicap golfer aren't necessarily thinking about when they're addressing the ball and hitting their shots. So the more information you've got to hand, the better in terms of improving your game. Next question is, does the S70 have a pin collect mode, or do you have to adjust where the flag is after your round? So this question is related to, I think, your putting stats that you can track with the watch. And the short answer is no, this watch doesn't have a pin collect mode. So as a comparison with something like the shot scope watches, when you get to the hole and you finish, then you press the button and you select where the pin is, right where you're standing. So the watch roughly knows where the pin was, and then it can start calculating how you performed with your chipping and your putting. With the Garmin, you just enter the number of putts that you took. Now, even with the additional CT10 tags that cost an extra £200, if you put one of those in your putter and your chipper, then you unlock some new putting statistics in the Garmin app. But even then, it doesn't have a pin collect mode, so you would have to go in and manually change that after your round to get a more accurate representation of where the pin was. Take a look at the next question. I'm thinking of upgrading from the Garmin S42. I'm an 18 handicap and play regularly. I mainly want the better map feature, caddy assistant, and more accurate yardages. I wouldn't use it for the sleep tracking and etc. Is it worth it in your opinion? Close call. In terms of accuracy, I don't necessarily think that you're getting significantly more accurate information from the S70 compared to the S42. Yes, this watch is using additional multi-band GPS tracking, so you potentially could get slightly more accurate GPS. But I've used the S42 for a number of years, and personally, I haven't really had that much of a problem. And even if the accuracy is a little bit out, you're only talking a yard or two in comparison. And as an 18 handicap golfer, is that really going to make the biggest difference to your game? Probably not. If you want the full course map layout on the watch and you want the auto caddy feature, well, then you have to go for the S70, or potentially you could save quite a bit of money and go for the previous iteration of the S62, because both of those features are available on the old watch as well as this new one. Equally though, that old watch also still has the sleep tracking features and the activity features that this watch has as well. So I think it really comes down to your budget. When you ask the question, is it worth it? Well, potentially it could be worth it, and you'll just have to live with the fact that this watch has got some features that you're never going to use. Alternatively, if you want to save a lot of money and still have the full whole layout mode, then you could go for something like the Bushnell Ion Elite golf watch, which comes in at around £200. The key feature that is missing that you've referenced is that it doesn't have the auto caddy feature. So if you really want that auto caddy feature along with the full whole layout, then you've really got to go for the S70 or save yourself quite a bit of money and go for the S62. If the auto caddy feature is one that is a bit more of a negotiable, then you could save yourself a lot of money and go for the Bushnell Ion Elite instead. Next question here is whether it's pretty easy to navigate the watch with a golf glove on. Okay, I've not tested that myself, but let's test it live right now. So I've got a golf glove right here. Let's see whether the watch still works with a glove. Yes, it does. There we go. You can see here. Touchscreen is working, not a problem. Let's give this one a tap. Yep, touching and tapping, not a problem. Good to confirm, yes, the watch does still work with a leather golf glove. If you are finding this video helpful, please hit that like button. I've never done a Q&A video like this before, so it'll be a really good indication as to whether this is the type of content that you find helpful, and I can film more of it in the future. The next question is from Golf Addict 65, says, I'm having a hard time choosing either the S70 or the Epix Gen 2. I'm an avid golfer, but I want an everyday, all-round great watch, health tracking, fitness, golf, etc. Which do you think would be the best all-round watch for me? Okay, interesting question, because it's not necessarily that straightforward. With the S70, you are getting an all-round watch that has a huge amount of activity and health tracking features, as well as the fantastic golf features available in this watch. The base model Epix 2 is quite a similar watch to the S70, although it does cost, I think, maybe £100 to £200 more. And then you have additional iterations of the Epix Gen 2 on top of that. So you can get a version with a sapphire crystal, you can get a version that's even bigger than this watch, you can get a pro version as well. So that's the first key difference in terms of the price. The S70 is a little bit cheaper compared to the Epix. There are two other key differences as well which will influence the decision here. Firstly, in terms of the looks, I would say that the Epix Gen 2 is a little bit more rugged looking compared to the S70. You've got some additional buttons on the side of the Epix, whereas on the S70 you've only got the 3 here. The base model has pretty much the same AMOLED touchscreen display and are trying to really satisfy the same kind of audience in terms of being general all-round watches. Of course, with the golf-orientated S70, you've got the whole numbers 1 to 18 etched on the outside of the screen, whereas you don't have that with the Epix. However, what you do get with the Epix, as far as I'm aware, is all of the GPS maps that you can use for running, walking, hiking, skiing, all those kind of things. So you actually get this street view or the topography view maps as well. I think that's the right word. From playing with the S70, I don't think you have those maps and you don't have the ability to upload them onto the watch. So yes, you can track your GPS runs, and yes, you'll be able to see on the app after your run where it is that you run on a map, but at the time of using the watch, you don't necessarily get any map views when you're doing the runs or the cycles or the walks. You just get the information data screen in terms of your times, your intervals, your heart rate, and other fitness metrics. So I think really that's the key point of differential. If you need those maps for your runs and your walks, then really I think you've got to go for the Epics. If you don't need the maps when you're tracking your fitness activities, well, I think the S70 is going to be absolutely fine for you. Next question is whether it's $350 better than the S42. Well, objectively, probably it is. There's a significant amount of technology in this watch compared to the S42. Off the top of my head, although the S42 has a color touchscreen, you're not getting the very bright, very bold AMOLED display. You're also getting significantly fewer golf features on the S42. So there's no map overview of the watch, there's no swing tempo trainer, and there's no auto caddy on the watch either. I'm not even sure whether it factors in slope. I don't think it does. It certainly doesn't factor in wind direction and strength and those kind of things, and it definitely doesn't have the pin seeker mode, so which tells you where the flag is if you need to, because you've got out of position on the course and you can no longer see the flag. All of those features included in the S70. In terms of fitness tracking, the S42 is pretty limited. You can track some basic GPS information when you're going for runs or walks, and I think potentially cycling as well, but that's about it. There's no heart rate monitoring in there. It doesn't track your sleep tracking. It's pretty basic stuff. So if you are more into tracking your fitness information, well, I probably wouldn't recommend getting the S42. Whether all of those features that you're missing on the S42 equate to the extra $350 that the S70 costs, well, I suppose that depends upon the value you're placing on those features. If they're features that you're not really going to use and you're not really going to miss, then it's probably not worth the extra $350, and either you're better off sticking with the S42 or getting the cheaper last generation version of the premium watch, the S62. If those are features that you're going to miss and want in your life and you're going to benefit from, then personally I would say that they do justify that extra $350. Yes, it's a lot of money, but you are getting a lot of features. Final question is, do I feel like the new 42mm version is big enough? In short answer, for me, yes. I've had no problems with this smaller version on my wrists. The size of the screen on this 42mm case is smaller compared to the 47mm case, which is pretty much the standard size because that's the same size case as the previous S62. When I was reviewing the S62, I felt that it sat far too big on my wrist and it looked like I was wearing a clock on my wrist, and that's because I've got pretty small, dainty little wrists. So for me, the new 42mm version is a godsend really, because it means that I feel a lot more comfortable not only wearing this on the course, but definitely wearing it off the course. It now blends in, it looks like a nice watch sitting on my wrist. It doesn't look like I'm wearing some oversized piece of tech. Now I've got 7-inch wrists, which are pretty small, so if you've got bigger wrists than me, then I think you're gonna be absolutely fine going up to the 47mm. And if you've got really bigger wrists, then you're probably not even gonna wanna consider getting the 42mm version because it's just gonna look too small on your wrists. What I think is great here is that you've now got a choice. If you've got smaller wrists like me, then you're probably going to gravitate towards the smaller S42, and you don't have to worry in terms of the screen size. I didn't have any issues using that out on the course. I didn't find it too small or anything like that. What is a little bit frustrating is that for some reason, the color options aren't the same for the smaller 42mm version compared to the larger 47. In the 42, you have this grey and green version here, and you also have a white version, and in the 47mm version, you only get the black option. Now for me personally, I want the 42mm version, and I want it in black. If you wanted the light colour in the 47mm version, at the time of recording this video, Garmin haven't confirmed any plans that they're going to release different colourways in these two watch sizes. Hopefully they will do it in the future, but they couldn't confirm to me when I reached out to them. If you are thinking of buying the new Garmin S70, then make sure you check out any links and exclusive discount codes that I've included down in the link below. At the time of filming this video, I've actually got an exclusive 10% discount code for anyone buying this watch from UK Golf Academy here in the UK. If I get any discount codes for people in the US or other countries, then of course I'll include those down in the description too. And if you are thinking of buying the S70, then you should definitely check out my full review of this watch. I don't only go over all of the features and benefits of the watch, I also go through some of the frustrations that I have with it too. It's an expensive watch, so you definitely want to have all of the facts before you go ahead and commit to spending upwards of £600. If you found this video helpful, smash that like button and I'll catch you in the next one.